We learn how to live our lives better from doing meditation. Though our getting up from sitting and going about the rest of our day as if we had never sat can make ordinary life seem like the opposite of zazen. Another mistake would be to think that we should always be following our breaths in our life. That is harder than non-sitters might think. Even when counting breaths from 1 to 10, we are likely to find that we ourselves, being only as far as 3 before another thought arrives. This can go on for the entire period. Some may conclude that having thoughts running through their minds is not a problem, so long as the count isn't lost. But this sort of multitasking should be avoided. While it may be possible to hold on to a count, which is one thought, another probably unrelated thought comes through. So therefore, we should be doing just one thing at a time. This is true even though when we are sitting there and no longer paying attention either to numbers or breathing, then we are being aware of what we are doing rather than trying to control ourselves. There's another reason why we shouldn't try to be following our breaths while doing other things. In eating, this might only lead to our spilling some soup on ourselves, but the situation could be dangerous, for instance, if you were driving while trying to do it. This too would be doing more than one thing at a time. Indeed, it is in our paying attention to one thing that meditation helps with our life. Our mind should only be on what we are doing. Driving, we should drive. Eating, we should just eat. This just is important in that it indicates that we are putting our entire attention on what is being done. In just doing things, pardon me a second. In just doing things, not only are we able to concentrate on whatever is going on in our ordinary life, but we are also able to be in each moment. In this way, continuing over the years to watch our breathing in Zazen is to realize that our Buddha nature is behind everything, which is to say that form, us and all things, and emptiness, all things Buddha nature, are one. Another way of explaining how our true nature is experienced is with Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva's pronouncement in the Heart Sutra that all 5 skandhas are empty. I've mentioned this before. This being so, it means that no discrimination is taking place between what comes into contact with our sense organs, the first skandha, and what is subsequently received in our consciousness, the 5th skandha. That is, the second skandha doesn't make a snap decision about whether what the first skandha has sensed is good or bad for us or indifferent to us, nor does the 3rd skandha clarify why this is so, nor does the 4th skandha compare this with other related concepts in our memory. Lacking all differentiation, the object that the senses received in the first skandha remains unchanged in the fifth skandha, which is our consciousness. Thus, similar to form is emptiness, the inside and the outside, in other words, the object and the subject, our world and ourselves, are the same and so one. The result is that what is completely in our consciousness at any one moment can fill the entire universe. It is in this way that Buddha nature is experienced in ordinary life. This could not be so, however, if we were multitasking. For having two objects in our mind simultaneously would prevent either of them from being the one thing needed to fill what then becomes the world. This is called actualizing enlightenment. Thank you. Let's get Jane in here. Oh, look at that. It goes on Jane, the light comes on. How about that? Yeah, that's very fitting. Very fitting.
The back thing is really bright today.
Oh, there goes darken me again.
The back thing is really dark.
It's really dark, huh?
Really bright.
Well, anyway, does anybody have any comments or questions? Yes, Matt, nice to see your fish up again. Fish and birds. Fish and birds.
Hello. Nice to be back. Yeah. By the way, just real quick, Jane, that was a great talk last week. And thank you for putting it together while you weren't feeling well. But I thought it was just wonderful.
Thank you,
Peter, yours today, not so, but
I was afraid of that. Yeah.
I'm curious if other people.
Talk, yeah.
What?
It's mail talk.
AIL.
Go ahead. I have to translate sometimes for Jane. Go ahead.
When I had a couple of things. One I've forgotten, which was the first thing. But the talk about skandhas. There's I don't know if other people have the same issue that I do with this, but I try. I've been exposed to discussions of skandhas in so many different contexts, and the discussion of them, and I don't. This is not to denigrate the teaching of skandhas. It's just something that I personally have trouble with. I've never found it helpful, and I've found it to be just the reverse, where it's a distraction, and so I just leave it be. Is that? Does anybody else have a similar difficulty to that, or maybe I'm missing something that I should be focused on?
Suki Roshi said many times, I think, but at least once for sure, after my talk, forget everything that I said. Something to that extent, not exactly those words, though, of course. And that is because when you give a talk, or anyway, in my case, when I give a talk, I'm copying in the sense of other teachers. I do a present tense and a future tense, in a way, and the skandhas is a future thing. To say, it's of course it was a way of analysis, but it also can explain. I was hoping to can explain how you could possibly ever. By the way, this is not my exact experience, This is the experience of a couple of my other teachers. And this is where I got that from. So it's like any Dharma talk. You can hear them forever, and they go in one ear and out the other because that's their function, to go in one ear and out the other, just like Zazen. So don't worry about not being able to get the skandhas. The skandhas is something that ultimately, hopefully, will come to you, just like actualizing enlightenment will come to you. But of course, right now, actualizing enlightenment makes no sense whatsoever.
All right. Well, that
It's in the
helps.
future. It's in the future.
Yeah.
Yes, James.
You're done.
Jane?
Matt, I'd like to say something on that too. When Suzuki Roshi said, when I give a talk, forget it afterwards, I think what he means, my interpretation of that is, he means don't put it in the mental realm. Don't spend your time thinking on it, because you can't solve what he said in a thinking way, because it's truly talking about things which can't be really put into words. So when he says forget it, he means don't let yourself control it. Just forget it from the mental realm and spend your time living your life, and some other part of you will work on it.
Okay.
In other words,
Yeah.
don't waste them. And I wanted to say one other thing. All five skandhas are empty. It's a big chunk. Why don't you just take one thought, feeling you know about, thought you work with right from the start? And what do you do with that? When it comes into your mind, you just let it go through without clinging to it, without engaging it or doing something further with it. And in that sense, you're treating it like it's empty. You can do the same with feelings. When you feel angry or upset or depressed about something, recognize it's also an empty sensation. And that when it comes into your consciousness, just let it sit there and do nothing whatsoever with it. Wait for it to change, just like thoughts. Wait for it to decide to come and go. And understand that it's not a genuine situation, that the feelings you're feeling are as empty as the thoughts that come in your head. So I think if you just work with one at a time, start with thoughts, then feelings, what is it? Thought, feeling, form, feeling, perception, and then work on your perceptions, which is the way you see the world. Recognize that that's also empty. So don't take it so seriously, whatever you think in your perception of the world. For example, many people look at the world and say, this world is just nothing but suffering, there's nothing in it. And just let that perception come and go, just as you would a thought that enters your mind unbidden. And so just work on each part of it one by one until you understand with your whole being, like thoughts, that they don't belong to you, they're just coming and going. And all you have to do is maintain composure in the face of it, especially in the face of feelings and perceptions. Consciousness is a little bit harder, but also it's the same thing. All the things we experience, we assume are so real. And then we find out as we look at them carefully, they come and go like thoughts do, with no clear beginning and no clear end, and in fact, no clear meaning. So that's all I wanted to say. But it's a big chunk, so don't worry about it. Most people, it's overwhelming. Just work a little bit. It's like in one step, one breath.
What a team. Thank you to both of you. The two answers together are very helpful.
So don't forget Peter's talk. Don't forget Peter's talk. It just means don't let yourself run away with it.
Yeah. No, I thank you. And just something that add to that is that one way that I look at it, and I don't know what you think of this type of language, is that I tell myself the only responsibility I have at this moment is this, whatever it is that this happens to be that I'm doing, and that I'm not responsible for a single other thing in this world. That helps to bring me back sometimes. But thank you.
So don't really ignore anything. Just don't let yourself take hold of it, because it's self, like the thoughts and feelings, aren't any more real except in our thinking. But don't just throw the whole talk away today. That's what I'm trying to say. You may need it one day.
I can have a funny feeling that I'm being defended here.
No, no, I'm just clarifying.
She's got her Mandrucci sword up there. Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike.
A friend of mine used to have a saying about what you were talking about. You just plant a seed. You know, you can't sit there and think about it. You just let it sit there, and it'll do something somewhere down the road when all the pieces come together. And I find I discover I kind of go through a situation when I'm reading a book or I listen to a Dharma talk. I latch on to something that I've just encountered in a statement or something and go, what was that all about? And I've missed the Dharma talk, you know, because I got caught up on one little hook of something that said, hey, you know, what's that all about? And I'll be reading a book. I'm reading the Shivagamsa right now. And all of a sudden I'm going, why did he say that? And I've completely lost where I was. So it all boils back down to the whole thing of just being in the moment. And Jane told me this a long time ago, because she told me the same thing. You know, I was worried about, I couldn't remember the Dharma talk. She goes, don't remember them. They'll come back to you when you need them. And just, you know, she's planting a seed, you water it, and you go on with your life, and all of a sudden you go, oh, that's what they meant. Oh, okay. And so, you know, I always like that saying. A friend of mine was a philosopher, and he says, all I'm here to do is just plant a seed in your head. It's up to you to water it. And so, you know, now I listen to Dharma talks, and if I miss something, it's okay. Somewhere down the road, it'll pop up and go, oh, by the way, okay, now I remember. So be in the moment, it'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Don't worry if it doesn't. Don't worry if it doesn't.